People say, there's was either backdoor conversations or conversations which never happened. You know, not too many people will admit to these, but they do happen. I know they do happen because I do them. It's it's not something you're necessarily. I don't want to say it. It's not necessarily dirty. It's just it's well known that if you're not talking behind the scenes to the people who are buying, the other vendors are, right? So there is a sense of still like trust and of a little bit of morality in there in the sense that people aren't going to cheat on it. But when they say you're not allowed to talk to people, you're still going to be talking to them. There's still back channel communications and so forth. Often, a lot of times what happens is that before the RFP comes out, if a vendor has wired it really well, the one vendor who is not talking to them is probably the one who's going to win, because they've already wired it so well that they don't want the risk of talking. So it's a kind of, we all know what happens. We try to avoid it, but the bottom line is that, people do talk. So when you look at it, organizations, they kind of know that there's back channel communications, that people are talking and other people are trying to engineer the bid and so forth. So, when you really look at it, why they kind of allow that to happen to a degree is because the idea of the RFP is not to select a winner, but it's to select the organization and or the partner that is best for you. And what I mean by that is, if you're working for the organization that's put out the tender, the reason why you want to do this, truthfully, it is not about being fair or showing that you're equitable or, making sure that your decision is covered properly. It's really to find the best vendor, product, or service for your organization. Because when you look at the cost of the RFP, like I said, the cost of it is sometimes, or is more often than not, way more expensive than the product or service you're buying. The reason why you want to do that, where the real value is to ensure that you have the best vendor for you going forward, that you are building a partner, somebody that's going to help you be successful into the future, not just the best price or the people that won. The best way that I can really show you why somebody should RFP is, well, let's go to tender for a hamburger. So we're going to introduce 3 lunch patrons, and this is lunch patron number 1. 3 lunch patrons have put together an RFP, a small 1-page tender, to buy a hamburger. And this is what lunch patron 1 RFP looks like. I would like to purchase a hamburger for lunch. I've seen many people enjoy a hamburger, a burger, and would like to enjoy one also. So, lunch patron asks, please describe the hamburger that you offer. How long has your restaurant been in business? Where are you located? And please provide contact information of 3 people who like your hamburgers. For the pricing section, they've asked, please provide a detailed cost estimate for the hamburger. And the process is that you need to respond with your completed response in 48 hours. So when you consider lunch patron number 1, it's not necessarily initially a bad tender, because it's saying, describe everything. Tell me about your hamburger, tell me about your restaurant, tell me about this, tell me about that. But when you look at it, to me, the biggest problem is there is no preferences for lunch patron number 1 described. You have no idea what they're looking for. So if you have a diverse menu, or you have many choices, or you want to build something custom, you have no way of understanding what Lunch Patron 1 really wants. Lunch Patron number 2, a bit of a different RFP. But surprisingly, these differences happen. Lunch Patron number 2 says, I am a 6-foot-tall white male born in New Jersey. After careful analysis of burgers on the market and understanding the options, I have a desire for the hamburger that is described in the following diagram. Preference will be given to restaurants that are within a 15-minute travel time. Preference will also be given to restaurants that I have purchased burgers from in the past. Lunch Patron number 2 also has some statements and questions. For the general section, please provide a detailed description of each of the parts detailed in the diagram. Provide a description of your restaurant and tell me why I should select your establishment. What are your return policies if I'm not satisfied with your hamburger? For the pricing section, they've asked, I have a budget of $3. Responses above $3 will be considered, but will have points reduction in the overall valuation. Please detail the cost and describe any options. Include pricing for any options. And in pricing also, do you offer any other value add features if I choose your restaurant? So the process is all responses are due in 24 hours, and a decision will be made 4 hours after submissions are due. And only the successful vendor will be notified of the result. Lunch Patron number 2, although it looks like they're asking smart questions, they don't actually give an area for the vendor to tell them about their product. When you read this RFP, you're really thinking, is this somebody I want to hang out with? Is this someone I want to spend time with? As a vendor, we always think about, do we really want to work for this customer? Because, at the end of the day, you could make a lot of money, but is it worth it? So absolutely, vendors fire customers. May not sound like it when we do it, but we do. And we also can pick who we want to work with. And that's really a sign of a mature company. So when you read Lunch Patron number 2, the thing that sticks out to me is that I have a budget of $3, and anything over $3 will be considered points reduction. Well, $3 for a burger doesn't seem unreasonable if you have a McDonald's budget. Yeah, you can get a burger. You're not going to get fries. You're not going to get drinks. What are you going to do with a burger? It's also one of the other things is that they're going to make a decision within 4 hours. Imagine getting 12 responses to this. And if you're a team of people, you have to all read all 12 responses, grade them, and then make a decision within 4 hours. What this is telling me is they know where they want to eat. They've already made up their mind. The other thing is only the successful vendor will be notified of the result. Wow. So basically, we're all going to work really hard. We're going to put in a bid, and then we're not going to know what happened to it. Well, was not happy about that. We would not be happy about that. The other thing about Lunch Patron number 2 is although they've asked questions and they have a nice picture of a hamburger, there's really no way for you as the vendor to describe what you're going to be providing for them. Okay, Lunch Patron number 2 asks, describe the hamburger in the picture. Describe each of the parts in the diagram. Provide a description of the restaurant and tell me why I would select your establishment, and what's your return policies if I'm not satisfied with your hamburger. So why are they, right away thinking about return policies? I would be concerned about. And they're not asking about the burger. They're not saying, what is your hamburger like? What are the side options? Why am I going to enjoy it? What made you want to serve hamburgers? So for Lunch Patron number 3, they have a pretty long RFP, and this is quite extensive to read, but let's go into it. On July 3rd at 1 p.m., I'll be having lunch with a friend. We have heard about craft burger restaurants in the downtown core, and we'd like to experience the popular trend of the craft burger restaurant. I'm a 26-year-old vegetarian female, and my friend is a 27-year-old female. We have a strong preference for restaurants that can properly accommodate vegetarian diet choices without a drop in overall quality or experience. Understanding that we are looking to enjoy the overall experience, please suggest popular side dishes and beverages as well. Due to the fact that we also want to enjoy a conversation over our lunch, we are interested in locations that have tables with chairs and also provide an environment conducive to friendly conversation. Locations within the downtown core that can be easily accessed by using the TTC departing from Yonge and Bloor Station are preferred. Lunch patron number 3 also goes on to ask these questions in the general section. Please describe your restaurant ownership and why you decide to operate a craft burger business. Please describe the burger lunch with sides and drinks, suggested meals, that you would recommend to me and my friend. If you have an alternative suggestion, including non-burger options or additional sides, please describe and indicate why they should be considered. What percentage of your food product is delivered to you fresh versus delivered as a processed food? Please provide references to at least 5 online ratings, providing you with a positive rating. Please provide references to at least 2 online ratings with a very negative response. We expect you to provide a defense and/or reason for the negative rating. Lunch Patron 3's pricing questions are: we have a budget of $50 including taxes and tips. Please describe your pricing for the suggested meal and provide optional pricing for the described suggested alternatives and extras. If the total budget with suggested alternatives and extras is above $50, please indicate why we should consider the recommended lunch, despite being over the provided budget. We prefer to pay by debit. Please indicate if this is possible. If not possible, please suggest an alternative. Lunch Patrons 3's process. All the responses are due in 3 weeks. You will have 2 weeks from the release date to ask questions. All question and answers will be communicated to all registered responders. Questions